Yep.
Yep.
You got me? Yeah, I'm not as loud as Brendan, if that's what you're saying. Yeah. I still don't have my Facebook link, Jay. Did you? Did you? Normally you got a link on that. Oh, there we go. I see it. Another one? So this is organized then. 2 in as many days.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you, a little piece in me. Well, this is not a miracle. For this is not.
I always wanted to be a lumberjack.
And that's okay.
Leaping from tree to tree as they float down the mighty rivers of British Columbia. The giant larch, the redwood, the mighty Scotch spine. With my best girl by my side, we'd sing, sing. Oh, I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and I work all day.
He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day.
I cut down trees, I eat my lunch, I go to the lavatory. On Wednesdays I go shopping and have buttered scones for tea.
He cuts down trees, he eats his lunch, he goes to the lavatory. On Wednesdays he goes shopping and has buttered scones for tea.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and I work all day. I cut down trees, I skip and jump. I like to press wildflowers. I put on women's clothing and hang around in bars.
He cuts down trees, he skips and jumps. He likes to press wildflowers. He puts on women's clothing and hangs around in bars.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and I work all day. I cut down trees, I wear high heels, suspenders and a bra. I wish I'd been a girlie, just like my dear papa.
Cuts down trees, he wears high heels, suspenders and a bra.
Hey, is this going somewhere?
Welcome to Talking Truth to Power. This is your host, Brendan Trainor, my co-host, Leland Faegre. And we had to play that song because we found out...
It's in the news.
It's in the news, yeah. The recent spike in COVID cases is likely attributed to a Bear Week celebration in Provincetown, Connecticut.
So those bears up for the Berkshires.
Yeah.
They just came down from the Berkshires there, I think.
What CNN and other news did not tell you is that 85% of the positive cases were male. That week was a Bear Week celebration in Provincetown, and then that turned out to be a super spreader event. And if you don't know what bears are, that's why we played that song. Bears are a gay subculture of brawny, hairy gay men. And, you know, that's where the Monty Python song came in.
I had one in front of my trash the other day. Does that count?
No.
No? Oh, a different kind of bear?
Yeah, different kind of bear.
I see.
And so when gay men get together and celebrate, there's going to be a lot of kissing. And there's nothing like what, you know, the sex workers call DFK. to spread a virus.
So that's what it was.
That's what it was, exactly.
Super spreader event.
Now, the public health establishment and the media apparently were afraid to tell the truth because it might cause hate or something. I don't know.
You got to be very delicate when it comes to that.
I know. Our gay people are so
we don't,
precious.
We don't have to here, but
right.
They do
They
there.
do there, yes. And that was really the only study. They claimed they had some kind of study from India, but then they never bothered to bring it forward. So as far as we know, that gay super spreader event is the whole reason behind the mask mandates and
It was an amazing story. When I heard it, I thought, how could that possibly be so present in one area? Yeah. So, I mean, it is. It needs to be said, and that's what we do here on Talking Truth to Power.
Yep. Let it not be said that if CNN won't cover it, we will.
Exactly
or let it always be said. All right. All right. So there's a lot going on with the COVID in the short time.
There is?
Yeah. Bill de Blasio instituted the first big COVID passport push in New York City.
I think the restaurants and the community that does retail there is thrilled about that.
Oh, yeah.
God, they couldn't be happier about that.
I know. In order to go out and enjoy all the wonders of New York, you got to show your passport.
And Broadway, too.
Yeah.
Apparently
Broadway everywhere.
Thrilled, yeah.
Yep. And commies like Bill de Blasio are our friends. You know that?
Sure
you know, they just have our well-being in mind.
Kindred spirits.
Yes. Almost certainly children will be required to mask up in Nevada this school year. And there's a protest August 11th in Las Vegas at the public school district office. It's called P2P Union, which stands for Power to Parents Union. So I'm sure they have a Facebook page if you want to know more about it. I don't know if I haven't heard of any up here in the north yet.
You'll want to sign up for that, though.
Yeah.
Make that a very long list. I wish I had a child in public schools now.
Yeah, you'd pull her out.
Oh my! Well, before I did, I'd have a lot of fun going to battle with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this kind of stuff.
Oh gosh. Then the New York Times, WAPO, etc., accused of fear-mongering by Aide. They published COVID statistics out of context to scare and get readers and clicks on their website. The percentage of the vaccinated who got COVID is always quoted, but without any context of how many vaccinated people actually are hospitalized or perish.
And what really bothers me as someone who has natural immunity, we are never part of the discussion.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's
That
true.
never, ever, under any circumstance comes up.
Yeah. In Europe, it does. In Europe, if you can show you had COVID, that's
Does that
qualifies. Yes, but there's no mention of it in America. You're either vaxxed or you had the test. You had a recent test. That's all they're doing.
Because it's 6 to 7 times more efficacious than an artificial vaccine.
That's what I was taught.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, our thanks to Monty Python.
Sliced fresh sandwiches every day, made right before your eyes. The port of Subway could be a smoking number 5 or a classic number 8, or maybe an Italian is your number 1 fave. Whatever you crave, prepare to fall in love. Sliced fresh sandwiches, port of Subs.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host is Lily Faegre. Did you hear that Governor Mario Cuomo is in trouble, Lee?
Yeah, I did kind of hear something about that.
Yeah.
It was in the wind, I think.
Yeah. Well, we managed to get our first long look here in Nevada at the Attorney General, Letitia, commonly called Tish James. Tish James. And she seems like, for a Democrat, to be pretty based. I remember a couple of years ago when there was that altercation between the Orthodox Jewish landlords and black tenants that resulted in one rabbi getting an axe planted in his head, if you remember that. She actually released a list showing 95 out of the 100 worst slumlords in New York City were Jewish. And the other 5, by the way, were Arabs. But anyway.
Just to be fair.
Yeah, just to be fair. But she was originally elected to that position on a leftist third-party ticket, third party called the Working Families Party. Now in New York City, they have fusion, which means you can run on 2 different parties. You can run as a Libertarian and a Republican if you can get the endorsement, or a Democrat and one of these other leftist parties. But she refused the Democrat a nomination. She ran strictly on the Working Families Party, and she won. She's one of the rare ones that won. But then when she wanted to go to higher office, like Attorney General, she ran into Governor Cuomo. And Cuomo...
You mean just in the hallway?
Yeah.
That kind of thing?
Yeah. Like, like Biden and that other woman, Tara Reid. Yeah, but he didn't actually assault her, but he assaulted the Working Families Party. He told her she would have to disaffiliate herself from the Working Families Party because he was trying to destroy them at the time, because he considered them a left-wing threat to his Democratic Party candidacy for governor. And she did take the deal, but just this week she had a little taste of revenge when she managed to celebrate what they were calling the 11 brave women who came out and said all these sexist, misogynist things that the Goomba governor of New York was doing to them.
He's a mafia don, isn't he?
He is, isn't it?
That's really how he operates.
Yeah, he does.
It doesn't come up in conversation, but it seems like that's really the model that he goes for.
Well, they talked about coercion, intimidation,
yeah,
as well as misogyny.
Right.
A culture of fear.
We choose truth over facts.
Yeah, but what does that say about the people of New York?
I know.
That's ultimately what, you're left scratching your head. How does this guy ever get there, I mean, it's a corrupt machine. We all know that.
Yes,
but, still, there's a ballot box.
Well, maybe they didn't realize. Remember, he was associated with the Kennedy family for a while. That probably gave him some credits, and he's
cleansed him. In other words,
yeah,
cleansed him a little bit.
Yeah. Purified him.
Yeah,
and then he's got his crazy brother plugging for him every time on CNN. Yeah,
because where else do you go for news except
CNN? At least if you're stuck in the airport between flights, you're going to watch it. But anyway, so unfortunately, Tisha is barred from prosecuting Cuomo. In order to remove him, it would have to be done by the legislature. So,
or he could resign.
He could resign. Yeah, the president kind of, sort of asked him to resign again. Yeah, not really though.
It's pretty good theater, but not much more.
Hey, Lee, did you know?
Speaking of parties.
Yeah, he could pardon himself.
How about that Barack Obama party?
Oh, yeah, well, the Democrats are insisting he follows all the protocols, but it's going to have, and it's all going to be outdoors. We'll see. I'm sure there's going to be some photos taken of people indoors without a mask and all that good stuff.
Well, it was to be a lavish 60th birthday party. Lavish. Yeah. With 700 guests, and I'm thinking now that he's reduced the guest list significantly because of the exposure. I guess my invitation's no good there.
Yeah, I guess not.
Damn it.
Mine got lost in the mail, I'm afraid.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Did you see what Circleback Pisaki said?
I've seen a lot of what she said.
In defense.
In defense
of the super spreader party that he was about to pull off, she says he's allowed to have a super spreader event because he's been a huge advocate for vaccines. This is the logic of the left.
I know. There's no logic. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. In other words, it's our club and not, you're not in it.
Yeah,
you know what I
that's
mean?
It.
Well, did you know, Lee, that black folks just got arrested?
Yes, I did hear something about that. I know we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. So. Harvard Business Magazine urges employers to allow black employees to call in black because the stress of COVID plus constant microaggressions in the workforce due to structural racism is just wearing them out.
Yeah, they can't handle it.
Yeah, so they got to just, you got to just give them these last-minute paid vacations whenever they want one.
There's one of them right now.
Yeah. And black women also need rest. I mean, you can snark and say they've been through a lot helping their kids loot and fence all that deal and plunder.
As I've been saying for a long time.
But in fact, we have a lot of black women just saying they got to rest. Black womanness. Now, that's a word. See how they create words? They're very
Womanness?
creative. Black womanness.
Is that a plural?
No,
root?
It's just woman-s. It's the essence of womanhood.
I see. So it's singular.
Singular.
S. I see. Okay.
Black woman-s sits at the intersection, there's that word again, sectionality, intersection of society's most marginalized identities, says Juanita Evans Clark, co-founder of the Creator Summer Company. And, this is Simone Biles. She pulled out of the Olympics initially, although she did come back and win a medal, a bronze, yeah. Mm-hmm. But she's just proof that black women are tired. Teen Vogue chimed in. Black Power Naps is addressing systemic racism in sleep. Sleep is racist.
In sleep.
You can't make this up.
No, you really can't.
Melissa Kimball writes, rest is not a trend, it's a birthright. Rest is a human right.
Huh.
In a society that values productivity over humanity and places superhuman expectations on black women, Biles stepping away didn't just challenge the status quo, it'll obliterate it. Rest is revolutionary.
I like the alliteration.
Yes. While black women are resting and being examples of liberation, they're also ensuring the betterment of the world. That's another quote. It does kind of sound exhausting, all that lack of effort to ensure the betterment of the world.
Yeah, I'm already worn out.
And the Harvard Business Review didn't stop there. It said, and black racism may be internalized as the imposter phenomenon, an internal experience that you're not capable of deserving of high achievement. Or it could be the feelings expressed by black employees who've been tossed into jobs they're not capable of performing. Imposter phenomenon is really caused by affirmative action programs. Can we say that?
Yeah, I think we just did. We said it. Around the world.
Yes. Well, I hope when black women rest, they'll kind of give us a little rest too.
Imposter phenomena.
Imposter phenomena.
Huh. They're really burning the midnight oil, aren't they?
Yes.
They don't sleep, I'll tell you that, coming up with this stuff.
What ethnicity is Harvard president?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Enough said.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Yep, that's the way it is.
Oh, gosh. But anyway, around the world, more and more countries are rebelling against the vax passports and lockdowns. This weekend,
Yeah, they are. Huh?
Yeah, Bratislava, Slovakia, tens of thousands demonstrated. They were not in the streets, not just in Paris, but all over France. Italy is rising up. They were marching in Limerick, Ireland, and denouncing the two-tier system being created by the vaccinated and the unvaccinated.
Because when you think of revolutionary cities, you think of Limerick.
I wonder if they were doing the Irish dance, the river dance, as they marched.
As they came out of the bar? Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, we've just had it.
I know.
We've just had it.
I know.
We're not going to put up with this. I like what Rand Paul said this morning.
Yes.
Did you see that statement?
Oh, I know. And we should.
We just can't do this again.
No. And who knows what if there is a long-term plan or what it is. I mean, talk about your conspiracy theories, but what is this leading to? If the COVID ever ends, what about global warming? They claim that global warming is worse than COVID.
Yeah.
A bigger threat to humanity. So we're going to have to prove how energy efficient we are.
Did you know that 4,000 years ago, the Earth's magnetic field was 5 Gauss?
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre. So, we understand that Biden may be pulling out of Afghanistan. We're still not sure. And may be pulling out of Syria and Iraq. But he seems to be hell-bent on doing militant actions in China. He's continuing to go send destroyers through the Taiwan Strait and making it the seventh such trip by an American warship this year. And he prompted the Chinese to accuse the U.S. of trying to provoke the military. Beijing said that Washington is the biggest creator of security risks across the Taiwan Strait, and pointing to the frequency of U.S. moves in the area, a spokesman for the Chinese People's Liberation Army Eastern Theater Command, Colonel Shi Yi, said the U.S. is the biggest destroyer of peace and stability in the region. So, I mean, look, this is something that Ron Paul talks about all the time, is that put yourself in their shoes and then see what you would think if you did what if they did to us what they're doing to them. So the closest analogy we have is Chinese warships sailing back and forth through the Florida Keys between the U.S. and Cuba, which is about the same distance, 80 miles, than China is to Taiwan, and then sending out announcements that the U.S. is causing unrest in Florida. So if the Biden government really wants to start a war with China, what would war with China be like? And I know Pat Buchanan wrote an article on this, I believe, but
a couple of weeks back.
But U.S. Air Force General John Hyten, at a conference sponsored by the Emerging Technologies Institute, which is a think tank run by the National Defense Industrial Association. Boy, there's so many of these groups. And which is an industry group focused on military modernization. And he's saying, when they do war games, they do a red team and a blue team, and the blue team is the U.S., the red team is China. And he said the red team had been studying the United States for the last 20 years, and they ran rings around us, he said. According to the Pentagon spokesman, one key aspect of the war game involved U.S. forces battling with China over Taiwan. And from heightened summary, U.S. forces became sitting ducks and were destroyed piecemeal and systematically. And there was not a single problem. It wasn't the shortcomings of any equipment or ship or airplane or the willingness of U.S. and Allied troops to fight.
What was it, discipline?
No, the issue was the very essence of how the U.S. military forms strategic concepts and conducts operations. The problem was the entire belief system, the entire architecture and construction of the Pentagon's way of doing things, of waging war. We always aggregate to fight and aggregate to survive. What he's talking about is the U.S. for the last 20, 30 years, or however long, even going back to the Civil War, they mass as much as they can when they're going to attack somebody. Like, think of Ulysses Grant overwhelming Robert E. Lee, with just masses of men and supplies. Mm-hmm. So the U.S. military is built around massing people, equipment, and munitions, build up a huge complex of firepower, then add massive levels of intelligence information, command and control, and targeting data to take all that massive aggregate of men and equipment downrange. But we basically attempted an information dominant structure during these war games, General Hyten said, where information was ubiquitous to our forces, just like in the first Gulf War, just like how it's been for the last 20 years, just like everybody in the world, including China and Russia, have watched us do for the last 30 years.
Longer than that.
Yes. Yeah. But he said the blue team, meaning the U.S. and allies, lost access to communication and data networks almost immediately.
Well, that's what we talked about last week on the show.
Yeah, we're always talking about this.
Electromagnetic pulse. I mean,
yep.
That's where the technology is.
Sea-floor cables were cut. Bandwidth died. In general, it was impossible to utilize the electromagnetic environment, and within moments on the U.S. and Allied forces, nobody could talk with anybody. And so what happens when you're trying to set up information dominance and information just isn't there? That's the biggest problem we face.
That would be a problem.
In today's world, with hypersonic missiles, significant long-range fires coming at us from all domains, if you're aggregated and everybody knows where you are, you're vulnerable. And he went on to say most U.S. weapons were outranged by new systems recently deployed by China, much of it based on advanced Russian designs. It's a long-term U.S. failure in research, development, and procurement. And what he says was, in real-world terms, think of casualty numbers in the tens of thousands, of entire bases obliterated, of hundreds of airplanes lost and dozens of ships sunk. And that's just in the first few days.
Shut up.
So in other words, all these years of fighting, basically wars for the Jews, did no good for the country and actually wrecked it, because it provided our opponents with all the information they need to build a solid response.
Well, it's a perfect opportunity to take it to the United Nations.
Yeah.
Which is what I think is going to happen.
Take what to the UN?
They're going to have a gun at our heads, and Biden is going to take it to the UN, sort it out, and the United Nations will sort it out for us. We will no longer be a nation state.
A nation state? Oh, well, we don't have to attack China.
No, that's right. The United Nations will take care of it for us.
We choose truth over facts.
I mean, I'm dead serious about this.
Yeah.
This is.
I can see you're seriously.
They have us. We have no alternative but to use the United Nations as it was intended.
Yep.
Because that's what they always invoke. What was the purpose of the United Nations?
Well, you're not supposed to invade or sanction another country without the approval of the Security Council.
Yeah, so it goes over there, and we'll take care of it from here. Don't worry about a thing. And then we're in, and there's no going back. There are no more nation states. That old world is no longer relevant.
I don't see how you get from, to be honest, how you get from point A to point B.
Well, you
I
will
don't
when
have
it
anything
happens.
new for you on that, and we'll circle back with you directly. I can circle back. I'll circle back with you.
Yeah, and it'll take somebody like Psaki to explain it to the American people because they have no idea what's coming.
Yeah. Well, I think they're starting to get an idea with all the
whole thing is
craziness about the flu.
Well, they see suspicious behavior, but they can't put their finger on it. They can't identify it. They don't understand it. They couldn't possibly come to terms with the fact that there was a plan to take every nation on Earth and have it, sort of coalesce around a global design. They've never heard it before. It's never come to their attention before. Unless you were in the John Birch Society for 10 years, like I was. I mean, it wouldn't come to them.
No. And, I agree with you on one level, but in fact, that's not the UN Charter.
Well, that's the Charter is irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity. It's just an arrangement whereby when things get ugly, they're going to usurp the authority of the nation state, every nation state. That's their job. That's why it was set up.
Yeah.
And I think the recent example with the World Health Organization and its flaccid response to China reveals that they are ineffectual at the moment, but that they have an opportunity to assert themselves in the future, and they will.
Well, I think that's a little bit far off. In the meantime, right now, we have to keep in mind that there's no reason for us to attack China.
Here's what I think.
Yep.
It's all determined by the electoral process. We're going into a general election next year. And if it looks like Trump is going to be the nominee, you're going to
Well, he won't be the nominee.
No, not in 22. But
right.
We'll have a better idea of how that shakes out by the next summer.
If he becomes Speaker of the House.
Yeah, well, that's an opportunity for him. But we had better be prepared for about the most extraordinary circumstances that human civilization has ever faced. We're on the precipice of.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with that general sentiment, I'm not so sure the UN is going to be the way that it gets done.
Well, because the managers of this grand design have paid for it. It was their design to bring China into the fold, for example. That was their idea. So they have a plan for how this is going to play out.
Okay. Again, I don't
Our studio
go
audience,
that far. You're the one with that vision. I'm not there in that vision
I've
yet.
lived and breathed it now since I was 19 years of age,
Yeah.
which is when I first learned of it. So yes, that's where I dwell.
Okay.
And all it needs is a radical event for that to be pulled off.
Okay.
A desperate, set of circumstances.
Like a war with China?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The threshold of a war with China. Doesn't have to come to terms, but it would be, time to pack a lunch and think about it.
I don't see Russia going along with any of that.
Well, then how are they gonna fight it?
They'll find a way. They have so far.
It'll go to the UN, so it doesn't go that far.
No, they won't. No.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsythe Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
with the power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. I'm here with Leland Faegre. And take it away.
Boy, never mind the content. I mean, just the music is great. Right?
I know.
I love it.
Well, we have to give our ADL, disclaimer before we can proceed. So we know that Israel is America's greatest ally in the Middle East, and it's the only democracy in the Middle East, and they don't throw gay people off of buildings.
No, they don't.
No. And, of course, every time we see Jews behaving badly, we must always remember that actually it's always our fault.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in the news this week, or the last short period of time, a Jewish rabbinical court in the ultra-Orthodox community of Mea Shearim in Jerusalem recently sentenced a dog to death by stoning.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah. The dog entered into the rabbinical court and refused to leave. The rabbis concluded the dog was a lawyer the court had cursed 10 years prior. So they sentenced the dog to be stoned to death by children.
Have you ever heard of a superstition run to this extent on something like you don't really think of Jews as being superstitious as such.
You don't, because most American
are
Jews
secular.
are Reformed Jews.
Right.
And they are more sophisticated than this, but the ultra-Orthodox community is still back in the 12th century.
Just wait till Peter hears about this.
So I know. I mean, if Peter was around when the Second Temple was, and they were sacrificing animals day and night, I mean, they would have been picketing the temple.
Absolutely, yeah. Where were they when we needed them?
So the dog apparently finally ran away, and the sentence was not carried out. But just remember, Judaism is the religion of peace, reason, and enlightenment.
I'm taking notes over here.
Okay. And throughout the history, the rabbinical courts have operated to purge heretics, and through things like deaths, poisonings. This is all extrajudicial, but poisonings and mutilation, like cutting the nose off your face. This was all widely practiced by the rabbis, and they also
not just dogs then.
No, not people too, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Heretics.
See, I think they would have come after us.
Others that fell in disfavor with them. And also, the rabbis have acted like warlocks at times, putting spells and curses on people. So a lot of people don't know that about Judaism because, again, America, except for pockets in New York City, America is pretty much Reformed Jews, and they have at least the pretense of being modern and sophisticated. Also in the news, Artem Dolgopyet, who was a gold medal winner in gymnastics for Israel, cannot marry his Jewish girlfriend in Israel because he's not Jewish enough.
Huh. Yeah. How can he up that?
Yeah, no, it's going to be hard. Artem was born in Dnipro, a heavily Jewish city near Kiev in the Ukraine, but he comes from a mixed religion family. His mother was a Gentile, and his father was the Jewish part of his heritage. And according to the Jewish religion, their Jewish ethnicity is passed through the female, not the male. So he's just not Jewish enough. He can't marry his girlfriend in Israel.
Couldn't tell by looking at him.
No.
He looked Jewish enough to me.
Yeah. Oh, dear. And where is the outrage over the discovery that Israel's Pegasus spyware has been used to spy on journalists and public officials all over the world?
Yeah, where is it?
But compare it to the unproven allegations that Huawei installed a backdoor in its phones. So the U.S. has actually put a damper on the Pegasus spyware, but that's because Pegasus was a Netanyahu project. And the Obama and Biden wing of the Democratic Party disliked Netanyahu Remember, he showed him up by coming to the U.S. and speaking before Congress? Yeah. So, and even a lot of Zionists in Europe and America perceive Netanyahu as too aggressively stealing the Palestinian lands, especially through the settler movement. They want Israel to slow down the theft a little bit. Not stop, but just not be so obvious. Mm-hmm. Yes. So basically, everything we accuse the Chinese government of doing, industrial and military espionage, abuse and imprisonment of our minority indigenous people, illegal annexation of territory, illegal spying and data collection of foreign citizens, is actually carried out by Israel. This is a fact that's known by all Western governments and media sources, but somehow Israel's exceptional status makes all of this acceptable to them, whereas we're ready to launch World War III against the Chinese. And PayPal and the Anti-Defamation League, they've confirmed they're working on examining all accounts PayPal has for hate.
We choose truth over facts.
And the major social media sites have also confirmed, like Google, Facebook, and Twitter, they've all confirmed that they are building some kind of combined major database together, presumably to enforce political correctness. And we also...
the fact that the Pegasus was a winged creature out of Greek mythology.
Too high to the sun.
Is that... Okay, I see.
Yeah. And Secretary Antony Blinken, who happens to be Jewish, it's just a coincidence, he tweeted out that the United States is deeply concerned by the increasing trend of surveillance, harassment, and intimidation of foreign journalists in China. The People's Republic of China can and must do better. But what he didn't mention was how the CIA stalked Julian Assange's partner while he was trapped in the Ecuadorian embassy. They stole his child's diaper. I don't know what they were looking for there.
Yeah.
They spied on Assange and his lawyers, burglarized his lawyers' offices, and plotted to poison him. And Blinken refuses to answer journalists' questions about Assange. Also in the news, the pistachio barons of California.
Right.
Yeah, the Resnicks.
We didn't have enough time for that story a couple of weeks ago. I'm glad we're getting
Yes, but we have covered them. I mean, we know they're out there.
Oh, we do.
And they are, on the surface, the Resnick family in California are bona fide limousine liberals. They have a 25,000 square foot Beverly Hills mansion that they give parties for, just like Obama, that are attended by the likes of Senator Feinstein, the Clintons, Arianna Huffington, Arnold Schwarzenegger, etc.
Champagne socialists?
Yeah, champagne socialists. Despite their progressive leanings and allegiances, the Resnicks are trustees for the always hawkish Washington Institute for Near East Policy and high-profile donors for the American Jewish Committee, and also a board member of the Mossad-aligned Interdisciplinary Center Herzliya. These sorts of affiliations align more with John McCain than the Clintons or the Obamas. So what makes the bleeding heart liberals like the Resnicks break bread with hardline neocons? Well, this is what we've covered.
Internationalism.
Internationalism, yeah. Jimmy Carter enacted a full trade embargo on Iran. Now, Iran is the world's greatest producer of pistachios and pomegranates, as well as almonds. And the Resnicks, if you want, their products sell in the store as Wonder pistachios, and there's a pomegranate drink that they sell. Mm-hmm. Yes. But the only reason why they're able to compete is because of Carter's embargo on Iran. Even in Israel, the Israeli citizens shun American pistachios. They go so far as to eat pistachios that are smuggled in from Turkey under different brands.
Well, our studio audience loves that one.
So the U.S. Department of Agriculture, in order to help them out, the Resnicks, because they need a lot of help. They're just not rich enough.
No, that's right.
They're buying $40 million worth of pistachios from them to prop up the price with our taxpayer dollars.
Support the price.
Yeah, support the price controls. So we hope that the Resnicks will survive this terrible calamity of ease.
It really is concerning.
Any ease of sanctions on Iran. And finally, are you a chubby hubby terrorist? Ben & Jerry's announced that they are no longer going to sell ice cream in the Israeli-occupied territories, so Israel declared Ben & Jerry's terrorists. Senator Langford, Republican of Iowa, immediately demanded that his state outlaw the sale of Ben & Jerry's just one day after he condemned Biden for censoring COVID-19 dissent. Even Republican darling Ron DeSantis put Ben & Jerry's on a blacklist, whatever that means. I guess the state can't buy any Ben & Jerry's anymore. I think they should set up Ben & Jerry's stands just across the border so all those Iowa terrorists can meet and eat their Ben & Jerry's.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it would take.
Yes. Or maybe they could sell a new flavor in the occupied territories. Palestinian organ harvest?
The little beats in me